Dr. Yasantha is an AI scientist, a seasoned technologist and innovator with over 130 patents. Doctor is a prominent Sri Lankan engineer and researcher who was once described as the smartest guy at Princeton by Amazon founder Jeff Bezos.
And so I went to Princeton, and I was a really good student, as I pointed out already. I got A+ on almost everything. I was in the honors physics track, which starts out with 100 students, and by the time you get to quantum mechanics, it's like 30. So I'm in quantum mechanics. I think this is like junior year, and I've also been taking a bunch of computer science classes and electrical engineering classes, which I'm also enjoying. And I can't solve this partial differential equation. It's really, really hard. And I've been studying with my roommate, Joe, who also is really good at math. And the two of us worked on this one homework problem for 3 hours and got nowhere. And we finally said, we looked up at each other over the table at the same moment. We said, Yasantha. Because Yasantha was the smartest guy at Princeton. And we went to Yasantha's room, and he was Sri Lankan. And in the Facebook, which was an actual paper book at that time, his name was 3 lines long, because I guess in Sri Lanka, when you do something good for the king, they give you an extra syllable on your name. And so he had a super long last name, the most humble, wonderful guy. And we show him this problem. And he looks at it, he stares at it for a while, and he says, cosine. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, that's the answer. And I'm like, that's the answer? And he's like, yeah, let me show you. So he brings us into his room. He sits us down. He writes out 3 pages of detailed algebra. Everything crosses out, and the answer is cosine. And I said, listen, Yasantha, did you just do that in your head? And he said, no, that would be impossible. 3 years ago, I solved a very similar problem, and I was able to map this problem onto that problem, and then it was immediately obvious that the answer was cosine. And that was an important moment for me, because that was the very moment when I realized I was never going to be a great theoretical physicist.
So what is that story then?
Yeah, so that is a fascinating story. Jeff Bezos one time comes, and then I'm in my sarong also. It doesn't matter. I open the door, and then he comes in and says, Yasantha, I got this problem, maths problem. We've been struggling, and then another friend of mine had told, maybe Yasantha might know the answer to this question. Because Jeff Bezos he wants to be a perfectionist. He wants to get the highest grade.
Right.
He's not like me. I like to learn. Right. But he likes to get the best grades.
Be the best.
So I started drawing on the wall when I was young, when I was 3 years old. And so both my mom and dad argued that, they shouldn't punish me. They should encourage me because I'm expressing my creativity, with drawing, scribbling on the house walls, right?
Yes.
And so they got scolded by all my other relatives, saying, you guys don't know how to bring up your children. Look at them, they're drawing everything and making a mess of the house. But then my dad is saying, we should not stifle creativity of your children.
Right.
So me and my sister both had a great time scribbling all over the walls.
So basically, growing up, you had your freedom.
Exactly.
As a child, you were free to express yourself.
To express my creativity, I think. And I absolutely appreciate that. And I think early childhood development of your brain is super important. It's
very important,
I think,
exactly.
So I think I'm so thankful to my mother and father for not punishing me for messing up the house. Our culture is not that entrepreneur friendly, because we are very worried about failing. I think if I take your money and go and start a company, and then people say, oh, what a shame, you lost my money, and then you'll be basically you become a social outcast, basically. This guy bankrupted the company or whatever, right? That's how Sri Lankans think, because they don't like failure. right? They like success, but in America, that it's very different. Some of the people try 3 or 4 times, go bankrupt 3 or 4 times,
Right.
and then they succeed. I mean, even places like Starbucks.
Right. I think that's an American mindset, right?
Exactly.
They don't give up.
Yeah.
You file bankruptcy, you stand
Exactly.
up.
Sri Lanka, if you file bankruptcy, you're finished. As you gain heights, don't forget your roots. Just like Jeff Bezos, he hasn't forgotten his root, right? Purpose is much more important, I think, so that if you can help people, then you can get up in the morning and work 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, right? So remember, purpose over prestige is sort of the last message that I like to leave with you. I must thank the Sri Lanka Foundation and inviting me here to do this inspirational discussion with you.
Right, you're welcome.
And I think Finn TV as well. And I hope the mission, I really do believe in the mission of being able to inspire the Sri Lankans all over the world. We have about 3 million, I think, Sri Lankans outside of Sri Lanka.
Right.
Now, in the diaspora, both Sinhalese and Tamil.
Right.
And I think it's a really nice thing to have this sort of TV that can reach
out to the communities.
to the culture,
Yes.
and propagate our culture.
Stay tuned to Finn TV USA. This Sunday on Finn TV USA.